Hello everyone. I am Teresa from Teresa's Spot for Art, where I love sharing art from my heart and teaching you how to create a little joy in your life through some fun, simple, and quick art projects. Welcome to 5-Minute Flowers. Let me turn you guys around and we will get started. I have out these 3 pieces of cardstock here. I use this because often when I do flowers, it's easier to see them on this brownish paper than it is on white. And I'm going to start out with the hibiscus. I'm loading my brush with orange and a little fire coral. It's about like a peach color. I want to get a little bit of paint on each corner of the brush. And then I'm going to come to my canvas. I'm going to put a little dot for the center. Then I'm going to stand my brush upright. I'm going to apply a little bit of pressure and I'm going to push and wiggle to a point, and then I'm going to push and wiggle down the other side. And we have it sort of based like a triangle, and that is our first petal. I'm going to turn my card a little bit and we're going to work on the other 4 petals. Stand my brush up, apply a little bit of pressure. I'm wiggling the toe of the brush, which is the part that's away from me, while I keep the heel of the brush almost on a straight line, and I come back to the beginning. Now I'm going to do the 3rd petal the same way out to the other side. I start standing up, apply a little bit of pressure, wiggle my way up, and then wiggle my way back down. The heel stays to the center and the toe moves out and back and forth, back and forth. And the same thing. Oh, I think I had my paint to the wrong side. I'm going to fix those other 2 petals. So out I go, and then back in. If you want to practice these, it's really good to practice on wax paper. Wax paper helps your brush and your paint glide really, really well. And now I'm going to put in our last petal. I'm going to go over the 2 petals that I did to begin with because I didn't like the dark to the outside, so I'm going to switch those. Once your paint is dry, you can go back over it and you can fix anything with acrylic paint. The light fire coral is going to cover up that orange nice and easily. Okay, now there are our 5 petals of our hibiscus. And you know, you can do this in any color that you want. Now I'm going to get out a little bit of floating medium, which is the clear product that is in paint before they add the color to it, and a little bit of dark brown. I'm going to load my brush with this floating medium, and then I'm going to pick up a little bit of the dark brown. And I'm going to put a little smiley face in the middle of my flower. I'm going to hold my brush. I'm going to apply a little bit of pressure to it, and I'm going to create like a little scoop. Some pressure, and then scoop back up. It's kind of like a smiley face or a scoop, and it's darker to the top and lighter to the bottom. That's why we add the floating medium onto that. Then I'm going to load a liner brush, or maybe even a small round brush. It should be a narrow brush, whatever you have. I'm going to use my liner brush. And I'm going to get some dark green. In this case, it's Thicket. I'm going to roll my brush in the paint. I'm going to get a decent amount of paint on my liner brush. I'm going to come to the center of my hibiscus. I'm going to apply a lot of pressure when I first start out. And as I slide my hand out and increase the length of the stamen, I'm going to pick up, so it gets skinnier as I get to the top. So you want a lot of pressure so it's thicker at the beginning and then thinner. And then I'm going to add these little, they're like little tiny hair strokes, little fiber strokes, the little tiny thin strokes. And then we're going to put like little dabs of pollen on top of them with some yellow. And there is our beautiful hibiscus. You can change the colors up, add some leaves, put it in a bouquet. Next up is the dogwood. I'm going to load my brush with some magenta and white. One corner in the white, one corner in the magenta, and then I'm going to make this little runway with my brush. You want to make sure you have enough paint on your brush. You want the paint to go up into the fibers. And I'm applying a little bit of pressure while I run it back and forth. I'm going to put a dot where I'm going to start. I'm going to stand my brush up. I'm going to apply a little bit of pressure, scoop up, make a little bit of a dip, and then come back down the other side. That's one petal. And do the same thing. I'm going to load my brush. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to push out and up with a curve. I'm going to make a little dip in the middle, and then I'm going to come down. Oh, I don't like that one. I'm going to have to fix that one, but that's okay. So I'm going to push out. At the very top, I'm going to make a little dip, a little indent, and then I'm going to push back down. They're almost heart-shaped, a little bit of a wonky heart shape, but almost heart-shaped with a little dip at the middle and the top. And then the last petal, push out, make a little dip, and then pull back down. So there we have our 4 petals. And I'm going to clean my brush off, and I'm going to grab my liner brush. I'm going to put a little bit of dark green thicket on the tip of my liner brush, and I'm just going to add a little bit of dark green at the tip of each one of those dips in each petal. I'm going to do it with the dark green. I'm going to wipe my brush off, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the same thing with bright yellow. It's okay if your green is still a little bit wet and they mix. It's totally okay. Now I'm going to use my liner brush. I'm going to pick up a little bit of this burnt umber or dark brown, and I'm going to add these little fine strokes at the base of each of my petals. I call these little spider legs because they go out on a curve to one side and the other side, and then a little bit in the middle. And this just adds a little bit of detail to the center of your petals of your dogwood flower. Then I'm going to use the handle of the brush. I'm going to dip it in some bright green or some light citrus green, whatever green I have, and tap it into the middle of the dogwood. Now I'm going to load my brush with some dark green and some light green, and we're going to add a little leaf. So this is a wiggle leaf. I'm starting up on the standing on the chisel edge, and I'm just pulling out to the side. Again, if you want to practice these, it's wonderful and so easy to practice on wax paper because your paint and your paintbrush move so easily. And I'm just coming around here, I'm just adding in a little bit of greenery, some leaves, then some little small leaves. I'm just going to put a little bit of pressure on my brush and pull. And the same thing here, a little bit of pressure and then pull in for more leaves. And there's our dogwood. For our next 5-minute flower, we're going to paint the forget-me-not. I'm loading my brush with blue and white. I think this is aquamarine blue. I want to get a nice amount of paint up into my bristles, but not as far as the metal. You don't want paint all the way up into the metal part of the brush. I'm going to put a little dot so I know where the center is of each flower. I'm going to stand my brush up. I'm going to push on a curve and come back. These are like little teardrop strokes. The heel of your brush, that would be the brush that's part of the brush that's facing you, or the part in this particular flower with the white, doesn't even hardly move. It just kind of pivots. I'm turning my canvas or my surface or my Lazy Susie, and we're going to make a bunch of little petals, 5, 6, 7 little petals to fill in our entire flower. I'm going to add another one. This time I'm going to use the white to the outside, and I'm going to do the same thing. Looks completely different now. The blue to the middle, and now that is the heel of my brush, and the white to the outside. I'm applying a little bit of pressure. I'm pushing and making a curve. They look like little teardrops or water drops. And they all meet in the middle. They're a little bit rounded at top and pointed in the middle. Now I'm going to add a third one, make a little bit of a cluster. I think I'll put the blue to the outside again. You just want to make sure that you load your brush up really well. And you want the chisel edge of your brush to be nice and flat. You want your fibers to all come together. And that's how you can make such smooth paint strokes. I'm using Folk Art multi-surface paint from Plaid. Plaid Folk Art multi-surface paint is more of a heavy bodied paint, and it really helps your paintbrush glide on the paper or your surface. I'm just going to add 3 little comma strokes out here to the side to make like a bud. And it's a push down and pull until they all meet together. I'm going to use the back of my brush to add a little yellow dot to the center of each of my flowers. Now I'm going to load my brush with some greens, dark green and light green. Dark green on one corner, light green on the other. I'm going to make a little runway here so I can get the brush loaded up with paint. And we're going to add a few leaves and a stem to our cluster of forget-me-nots. I'm just adding in these little comma stroke ones. I'm adding in a base to my bud and attaching it to the flower. Now I'm going to pull in a stem, and then I'm just going to put these little tiny leaves, and these are like apostrophes or commas, and they get a little thick on the stem. They're overlapping, and I'm just pulling some in, and there is our dogwood. Thank you for watching 5 Minute Flowers. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I'm Teresa from Teresa's Spot for Art.